Hey everyone, this is Derrick Broze with Conscious Resistance, and today is day one of I'm not sure how many days where I began reading every chapter of my 3 books of the Conscious Resistance trilogy, co-authored with John Vibes. If you are just hearing about these books for the first time, you want to visit theconsciousresistance.com, click on our books tab right here, and you can find links to all 3 of my books with John, plus my book, the whole holistic self-assessment, and John's solo book as well. You can find all of that there, and you can download all 4 of my books for free. The first one that we're going to be reading from, that we'll be reading from for the next 2 weeks or so, actually 16 days to be exact, as we read the next 16 chapters of this book, is Reflections on Anarchy and Spirituality. This was the first book that came out from the Conscious Resistance, and I'll spare you the long-winded explanation. You can just check out this link here to learn more about it. But let's get right into it. This is day 1, chapter 1. What is the conscious resistance? There is a deep struggle in the world that dates back thousands of years and has created an untold amount of suffering. It is a struggle towards freedom and peace, unfolding while so-called civilizations are ravaged by slavery, genocide, and war. Today, many of us live under the illusion that these horrors are a thing of the past, or the problems of some faraway land. But they are just as real today as they were in the Middle Ages. The problems are just as real in America as they are in the rest of the world. There are many social and political changes that must take place to heal the widespread suffering in this world. The entire structure of our societies must change in order to achieve peace and freedom for all people. While a truly utopian world is likely impossible, a world without systematic and socially acceptable violence would certainly be a paradise compared to what we have now. To create the social and political changes necessary to end the violence, we must use a different method than those tried in the past. We cannot simply storm the gates of the castle and hang the masters from the highest trees. This will only result in a new master sitting on the same throne, exactly as we have seen throughout history again and again. Real change comes from within. In order to stop this cycle of madness, we need an evolution of consciousness. The state and all of its predatory appendages, like the corporate and military-industrial complexes, are more than groups of people with weapons who need to be overthrown. They are bad ideas that can be rendered obsolete with the right combination of good ideas. As the fight for freedom has evolved, so has our understanding of what freedom actually means. The desire to understand the pursuit of freedom has existed as long as conscious beings have been on this planet. Different cultures throughout history have had their own ideas and visions of how freedom manifests itself. Throughout this book, we will be careful to define important terms that may have different meanings for different people. There are 2 ways to define philosophical terms like government, country, democracy, capitalism, communism, freedom, slavery, etc. We can define these terms theoretically, or we can define them according to how they actually operate in reality. For example, many people now recognize the word propaganda as a negative term used to describe psychological manipulation. However, 100 years ago, propaganda was just another word for media. There are many modern words that are largely defined by their theoretical definition rather than how they operate in reality. When we define terms throughout this book, we will not only be looking at the standard dictionary definition, but we'll also break down what that word is truly represented throughout history. Because freedom is the very basis of this conversation, it is important to be clear about how we are defining the term. Freedom is defined by Merriam-Webster's dictionary as follows: the quality or state of being free, the absence of necessity, coercion, or constraint in choice or action, liberation from slavery, restraint from the power of another. Independence, the quality or state of being exempt or released, usually from something onerous, freedom from care. Pay attention to that first definition of free, the absence of necessity, coercion, or constraint in choice or action. It is this definition on which we base our vision of freedom. We advocate not only a voluntary society free of coercion, but also that each individual have the utmost control over his or her own life and affairs. Despite the commonly held belief that humanity would regress to a barbaric state without government, we propose that the individual who governs himself is better equipped to create a free and enjoyable life. From this definition of freedom, we can begin to analyze the history of humanity and decide whether we are living in a state of relative freedom or in varying levels of slavery. By studying philosophy, economics, politics, and history, we can determine whether humankind is freer than it was in the past, or if we have been slowly losing our freedom over time. In the following pages, we propose that it is not only humanity's physical struggle for freedom that should be studied, but also our daily internal struggle for freedom. We believe there is a vastly deeper and extremely personal fight for freedom taking place every moment. This is the internal struggle, the mental battle, the war waged between our desire for our highest good and our doubt and self-imposed limitations perpetuated by our own internal tyrants. It is on this field where humanity's greatest war is fought. As a result of our research and experience, we have come to the conclusion that it is extremely important and necessary to challenge and expose the physical manifestations of power. Equally important is our ability to face and challenge our doubts, fears, insecurities, and pain. No matter how hard and long humans try to establish a freer world, we are doomed to repeat the same mistakes of the past if we cannot conquer our own inner demons. Poverty, corrupt governments, and wars are manifestations of our inner struggles, and the fact that we allow these travesties to carry on shows that we are a species in need of deep healing. Until that healing takes place, humanity will be ripe for control by an external source or leader, and in fact, people will continue to beg for that control. It is with this thought in mind that the conscious resistance was born. Consciously resisting means being willing to engage in self-reflection. Without knowing our own doubts, hopes, fears, dreams, insecurities, and strengths, we cannot truly know what freedom means to us as individuals. Becoming conscious of your actions is one of the most important steps towards understanding and claiming your own freedom. From that clear state of mind, one can lead by example and help others in their own pursuit of self-discovery and freedom. This book is aimed at those who already possess some level of understanding about the search for freedom, but are ready to challenge long-held beliefs about where freedom begins and ends. These essays are for those who live as free humans in the physical realm, but desire a deeper, fuller experience of liberty. The words are also written for the spiritually curious, the researchers and the wayfarers who value themselves spiritually but may have yet to consider how to achieve freedom, or may be intimidated by some of the darker aspects of our five-sense reality that need to be overcome. We would also like to make it clear that this book is not meant to be the final word on any of the topics discussed. Rather, we hope to broach the conversation and spark healthy debate about how far one should take their desire for freedom. None of the ideas expressed should be taken as arguments for a monopoly or a one-size-fits-all model of freedom. In the New Libertarian Manifesto, Samuel E. Konkin III, founder of Agorism, wrote, "There is no one way, one straight line graph to liberty, to be sure, but there is a family of graphs, a space filled with lines, which will take the libertarian to his goal of the free society, and that space can be described. We believe the conscious resistance, the coupling of self-governance with a sense of self-reflection, is the best path towards the goal of a free society."